Disclaimer: I have only ever used Bmobile firsthand. All Digicel experience is from research alone. And before anybody come any comments and say it is because of the pandemic, I experienced these problems since January, and that is the inspiration for making this video, and who knows how long before that it actually going on. On to the new home phone system Bmobile TSTT has been using. If you've had TSTT as your home phone service provider, you would have gotten one of these Huawei LTE modems installed recently. Now, why Bmobile decided to do away with a wired landline service and switch to this is beyond me. Is it even sensible to call this a landline anymore? What are we to do if disaster strikes? The modem, however, has had some serious consequences. As I said, I got an LTE plan when it was still a new thing. Coverage since then has vastly improved. But goodness gracious, speeds have fallen harder than the economy right now. These two videos from late 2016 are speeds I can say I have myself experienced when LTE was still new, even in early 2019. As you could see from this video made by Droid Island, speeds were still decent, hovering around 20 megabits per second download and 10 to 20 megabits per second upload. So yes, as more users join the network, we inevitably have to deal with more congestion. And to add, TSTT, as they were formerly known, were the first and for a long time the only home phone service provider in Trinidad and Tobago. As it stands, a majority of people, myself included, still have them as their home phone service provider. With the migration to the wireless modem, a lot of people would have had to switch, which would have led to the high amount of network congestion and slowdown. But this is too far. Since they replaced all home phones with this modem at the end of 2019, their weak network as it was before became ultra saturated to a point where we're left with these sometimes dial-up speeds.
It allows the user to experience ultra fast broadband speeds on their mobile devices.
You want to get me mad in here or what?
And we can't forget their own mobile routers that operated on the 3G network, even though it claimed to be 4G given by the default network name being Blink 4G ... etc. Which also contributes to the depreciation of 3G speeds nowadays as well. Now for the meat and bone of this rant. Before we look at the Bmobile speeds in depth, two recent videos I found courtesy JR Mobility, who you should subscribe to if you're interested in seeing speed tests for mobile and fixed networks in Trinidad and Tobago such as Digicel, Bmobile, Flow, Amplia and more. These videos show blazing fast speeds from Digicel, even in peak hours as shown here, which pale in comparison to Bmobile. While his Bmobile speed in comparison was a bit faster than mine, it could both be due to stronger signal strength in his area, in addition to his phone radio signal being stronger than mine. Sure, you could say my radio weak and I complaining and blah blah blah, but not everybody could afford to buy a flagship phone with the strongest cellular radio in it, especially after they buy one of all their plans. Here's some more food for thought from JR Mobility, who commented on part 1 of my rant. I find two things interesting here especially. Firstly is that they could possibly be throttling speeds on the one-day plan compared to the week or month plan. It is just a theory, it isn't proven or anything, but still very interesting. The other interesting point here is that it's possible that either Bmobile or just a default bug in the settings of the A50 could be causing the phone to use data instead of Wi-Fi. Now, I haven't experienced this problem on my A50 phone, but if you do have a phone in the A series, I would go as far as to say you should definitely check on this if you find that your credit is depleting for no reason. You would have seen both 3G and 4G LTE speeds as I tested while I have been ranting for these two parts. And while the final averages have not yet been displayed, the trends more than match. At noon, the entire 3G network was basically unusable. Decimal point speeds of 0.4 and 0.5 megabits per second download, and 0.03 and 0.05 megabits per second upload was just unacceptable.
We are saying that our solution will provide speeds that are as much as 10 times faster than anything that you can get right now.
We're line 4.
No matter what time of the day it is. Don't get me wrong, 3G was never fast, but it was able to crack 6 megabits per second download and 3 megabits per second upload at one point, which as you can see, not even LTE could do unless you're using it any wee hours in the morning. You analyze all the download speeds and we remain with a maximum of 3.59 megabits per second, and all the upload speeds past 12 PM on 3G. Only once was 1.65 megabits per second achieved, otherwise speeds of under 0.72 megabits per second were the norm. Now the LTE speeds are way more acceptable for general use throughout the day, and if you are a light user of WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, etc., LTE will be sufficient, but downloading something or even streaming anything higher than 720p on YouTube will be a task. I couldn't stream in higher quality at any point throughout the day. Browsing the BBC News, Loop News and ESPN Cricinfo apps, a typical use case for me in addition to WhatsApp and YouTube, were tolerable but not satisfactory with the LTE speeds. The max speed of 11.7 megabits per second download was only achieved once at 6:20 AM. Not even half of that speed was ever achieved again. There were only severe dips to lower 1 megabit per second speed at peak times of noon and 10 PM, when most likely a lot of users would have been streaming Netflix, YouTube, etc. So while I could appreciate the consistency with download speeds, the average and max speeds are nowhere near where it should be. The upload speeds, on the other hand, are all over the place and never went higher than 4.36 megabits per second, which was only achieved at 2 AM. And let me face it, most data users either asleep or on their home internet at that point. The final average speed for 3G is 2.12 megabits per second download and 1.23 megabits per second upload.
It is world standards.
It don't make me flippin' trip here, you know.
Are you kidding me, Bmobile? I get that most users will use LTE these days, but seriously? 2 megabits per second download and 1 megabit per second upload? What do you expect people to do with this? If it was free or cheaper, then nobody would complain. Trust me, I wouldn't. But this is premium pricing you're asking of people. The final average speed for LTE is 4.17 megabits per second download and 2.28 upload, which for data on a whole is more respectable than 3G, but when advertised as premium, blazing fast LTE speed is an absolute embarrassment to Bmobile, phone manufacturers, tech enthusiasts, and Trinidad and Tobago on a whole. All you seriously need to fix your speed or your pricing, because people will catch on and leave data behind, and use Flow's new Flow Wi-Fi hotspots, which offer download speeds between 10 and 20 megabits per second and upload speeds of 3 to 4 megabits per second. They seriously coming to give both Bmobile and Digicel a run for their money. So if you, yes, Bmobile, you specifically don't get your act together, you're going to seriously pay for this one way or the other. And by the way, all their website needs some updating, because last time I checked, Digicel have 4G LTE too, you know.